Welcome to another Free Gamers production.
Okay, so I dusted off the vampires for a local tourney, and they've risen again. So there's the mighty Keef VonKeith riding his Abyssal Terror. He's got a great weapon and the Crown of the Damned, so he's a bit stupid. And he's souped up with magic and a lore familiar, so he can try to get Spectral Doppelganger off with his great weapon. So we'll see how that goes. Then he's got his trusty sidekick, level 4 shaman, Heinrich Kemmler, who's going to be the general. And he's going to be casting from necromancy. So we'll see how he's going. And he's got the item, the book, so he can resurrect twice. So he's handy. He's going to be running around in the Black Knights. That's my old battle standard bearer. He's a bit of a classic there, a zombie head on an old Empire Knight. I've got better white battle standard bearers, but he's got a bit of character, that guy. So he's the battle standard bearer, war banner. And the other guy, he's going to be in the Black Knights as well to try and give them plus D3 weapon skill, which might help them. So I've always had a bit of trouble with the Black Knights, so they're having another chance here. And there's the heavy hitters. We've got 6 Blood Knights, just with a standard. The VonKeith standard there. Some couple of conversions, couple of proper ones there. So 6 Blood Knights, and then 10 Black Knights. They're in core. And they've got the standard of Hellish Vigor, I think it is, which gives them reserve move, which is basically, that's a bunker for Heinrich Kemmler to keep him alive, and the reserve move to keep him out of trouble. And they wanted to fit in a Terrorgeist, so that's why I've only got 6 Blood Knights. The Blood Knights are drilled as well. So I wanted to fit in a Terrorgeist just to see how it goes, and 3 Fellbats. So 3 little bats to get in the way, divert things. That's their job. Only 45 points or something. Then 10 ghouls, then 2 units of 5 direwolves. There's a zombie trying to ride a direwolf there. These are really old. Some of these, like, I don't know how old they are. They could be 30 years old nearly, I think, some of them. They painted a long time ago. The Terrorgeist is reasonably new. He might only be 10 years old or something, but the rest of it, pretty old. Maybe some of the Blood Knight stuff is new. So that's the plan. I don't have any skeletons. So when Old World came out, the first thing I did was dig out the vampires and rebase them yet again. They've been rebased to Kings of War, then Age of Sigmar, then back to Kings of War, and now they're back to fantasy again. They're one of my very first fantasy armies back in the day. And I didn't do too well with them at the start of Old World because I was running like blocks of 20 skeletons, etc., and zombies, units of 20 zombies. And as you know, infantry kind of aren't that good. So let's see how they go. Maybe I can win a game with the vampires. Let's see what happens. Right, then round 1, we're on the snow table versus the Empire. So nicely painted Empire army. He's got his steam tank there, a couple of war machines, Hellblaster and cannon with an engineer out the back there. And then this big unit scared me. They've got the Griffin banner. He's level 4s in there. And the guy on the Hippogriff, I think he might be the battle standard bearer or something as well. So there's a lot of combat resolution in that unit. So I don't want to march into the hail of gunfire and then have to fight that extra rank bonus unit. So I don't want to deploy in front of them. Couple of hippogriffs there, some scouts in the woods, and then he's got the new White Wolf Knights. And I think these are 3D printed ones, but he's got the guys actually riding wolves. And then his old-fashioned general on the Griffin, classic model there, I think. So a nicely painted Empire army, which is great. So I was mainly worried about the Griffin banner unit. I didn't want to march across the table and fight the big Griffin banner unit and get flanked by his cavalry. So I'm going to try and, not going to go up the middle, I'm going to go around one flank or the other. He's got this flank anchored with the tower and the steam tank, and I would have to fight the steam tank. It's toughness 7, And I do have the Terrorgeist, and I'm going to try and scream at it, but one scream isn't going to do much, I don't think. We'll see what happens there. So this is my left flank. So you can see I put the dogs out first, and I've got some dogs and the bats on the right flank, and then I put the Blood Knights down, and then I hid the Terrorgeist from the cannon. And then I thought, well, where are the Black Knights going to go? They have to go near the Blood Knights so I can raise them back up again and use the Battle Standard Bearer. So there's the White King and the Battle Standard Bearer in there, in the Black Knights. They've got the standard of Hellish Figure so they can reserve move. And there's Heinrich Kemmler with his wizarding hat on there, being very sun safe. Doesn't like the sun, Heinrich. And there's the Blood Knights. There's some dogs. The Terrorgeist, the ghouls there, and then I got nothing in the middle in front of the Griffin banner and the cannon. So it just accidentally ended up weighting the flank because I didn't want to put the Black Knights out there on their own. So that's my right flank, which is just the bats and the dogs. And so I've heavily weighted the left flank. So my plan is to sweep around the left flank, so win that. So his general and his White Wolf Knights have got a lot of work to do. And I've got nothing in front of the Griffin banner unit, so I'm going to have to either turn them one way or the other, so they'll have to turn towards their right flank. So that's it. I've got a very compact army. I did envision the Black Knights marching around the field with their Hellish Figure and reserve moving, but I've got to keep Heinrich Kemmler and the Battle Standard nearby. So that's the plan. We'll see what happens on turn 1.
Let's go. Turn 1.
Right, so the Empire win the roll-off for turn 1. This is just before we did the roll-off. I decided to vanguard my poor little direwolves forward in hoping that I got turn 1. I might have been able to charge his war machines or something. So the Empire are going to go first. He's scouted for. He's got his little bowmen in there. They're going to shoot at something, and then he's got a cannon shot down the line of the Blood Knights, I think. There's his little archers in the woods. There's the big Griffin banner unit with a couple of characters in the front. He's wizard and I think it might be the BSB on the Griffin, not sure. There's the cannon. All right, so the cannon's just going to fire down the line through my Blood Knights and kills 2 Blood Knights and went through the... I think the Black Knights might have copped a wound as well, but they think they saved. And that was about all the damage. And then his Hellblaster opened up on my direwolves that were bearing down on the Hellblaster. And he rolled a double misfire there, so the Hellblaster didn't shoot. The cannon from the steam tank shot at those dogs as well. So the Hellblaster can't shoot this turn and next turn, so that was a bit of luck. He put out a pillar of fire here. So all these Hellblaster and the steam tank and everything haven't done any wounds to the dogs, and then I think I lost 1 dog. So in my turn, I threw the bats up there. He's got the pillar of fire out, and my dogs go in there and they actually, this is just after they've killed the Hellblaster and overrun into the Griffin banner unit. And then on my left flank, I've thrown down the gauntlet here, moved the Blood Knights up there. They do have countercharge, so they're going to threaten him. He has to decide whether he wants to send the White Wolf Knights in there with his general. I've taken a bit of a gamble here. Can the Blood Knights hold against the White Wolf Knights and his general on a Griffin? So I've thrown the gauntlet down. The Black Knights are just in a traffic jam there with VonKeith backing up the Blood Knights from behind.
Turn 2.
Right, so it's all happening on the vampire's left flank here. He's declared a charge. I offered a charge up with the Blood Knights. So he's declared a charge with his general and the White Wolf Knights. I did put a bit of pressure on him here with my direwolves who had vanguarded forward, and then they moved and then reserve moved. They had plenty of movement because they had Van Hells on them as well. So they've moved up and turned onto his flank. So it put some pressure on him, even though the direwolves might not do much damage. You don't want to get charged in the flank by direwolves and get pinned in place for the Blood Knights to come in. So, umming and ahhing about it, he decided to send both. And I'm wondering, can the Blood Knights hold the charge from the White Wolf Knights and the general on the Griffin? So we'll see what happens as they come in, and they both make their charge, because I counter-charged and I went 3 inches. So I'm getting the lances with the Blood Knights, and he's getting his White Wolf hammers, etc. So in they come. So I'm not sure what's going to happen here, and VonKeith is sitting behind the Blood Knights to back them up. So there's the general on the Griffin, on the nice colourful old Griffin model. Plenty of character in those old models. And the White Wolf Knights versus the Blood Knights. And the White Wolf Knights do pretty good. I had to issue a challenge. I don't have to, but I issued a challenge with one of the Blood Knights. And I think we ended up killing a couple, only 2 of the White Wolf Knights, even with our lances. He rolled really well for his saves, and there's only 2 Blood Knights left, the standard and another guy. Luckily I had the BSB nearby for the extra indomitable. And so we've given ground, and then he's deciding whether he's going to follow up with his general. And then in my turn, VonKeith charges in there. And so we're going to have a battle between Keef VonKeith and the Empire General. I did try and scream at him with the Terrorgeist. Didn't do any wounds, though. And you'll notice the Blood Knights are back to full health. So Heinrich Kemmler has raised the Blood Knights back to full strength. So that's incredible how easy it is to raise up Blood Knights. So there's going to be a bit of a battle. It looks like VonKeith's taken a couple of wounds or something, and the Empire General's taken a couple of wounds. We've got glittering robes off on him and so on. And we go into turn 3.
Turn 3.
Okay, so turn 3, his Pillar of Fire finishes off my bats, and now he's turning the big Griffin banner unit and the 2 cannons, one on the steam tank and one on the ground. The 2 cannons are firing at, firing at the Terrorgeist and something. I think I managed to pass a couple of regen saves, maybe copped a wound here and there or something, but they're moving towards the battle, trying to go over to reinforce the general, who is locked in combat with VonKeith on his Abyssal Terror. And the ghouls are chasing the archers through the woods. So that's the situation. So eventually the Blood Knights, who were down to 2, are back up to full strength, and they're going to finish off the White Wolf Knights. And VonKeith, with his glittering robe and spectral doppelganger, will eventually finish off the Empire General, who fought bravely. I think he got VonKeith down to maybe 2 or 3 wounds left, and I spent the next couple of turns trying to heal him up, as well as the Blood Knights. So he did pretty well. I'm not sure if he had the Ogre Blade or something, but yeah, so with Glittering Robe being extra -1 to hit, it took the rest of these 2 turns, the top and bottom of turn 3, to finish off the Empire General. I think VonKeith overruns or pursues him. He might eventually break, and I chase him down.
Turn 4.
Alright, so we're into turn 4, and VonKeith has chased the general down, so he's over the back behind the woods, and I've turned my flank towards the centre now, the Blood Knights. I've locked a charge here with the Terrorgeist, but his cannon's shooting through there, kills a couple of Blood Knights, which frees them up to charge the steam tank, who's heading towards them now. And Heinrich Kemmler in his bunker of Black Knights with a couple of White King and a White Lord BSB there. They're moving up as well. So I've kept them safe. That was the main thing. I always seem to lose my necromancer and start crumbling. So he's in his bunker of Black Knights. That seems to be working okay, at least in this game. They haven't had to do anything. VonKeith's over the back, and then he puts a Pillar of Fire through the Blood Knights and the Terrorgeist, through everybody. And I don't think he does any wounds. That's a Pillar of Fire went through everybody. And because it's only strength 3, the Pillar of Fire, not so good versus tough things. Toughness 4 stuff and toughness 6. And there's the situation. So VonKeith's going to sweep around the back. The Blood Knights are going to charge the steam tank. And his Griffin banner unit still intact at the moment. But we'll see what happens there in a minute. He has a bit of a disaster. Spoiler alert there. There we go. So there's a miscast. So he's done the big calamitous detonation, the 5-inch blast template, doing strength 10 hits on everybody. So his wizard blows himself up there and kills about 4 or 5 of his unit. And then he does it again. He miscasts twice in the same turn, which whittles them down into a manageable size for me to then attack with the ghouls. So he's had some rotten luck, right? On turn 1, he's Hellblaster misfiring. And then he miscast twice here and kills about half the unit. And so he's miscast again. The Blood Knights, there's only 4 of them at the moment, but that's okay. It's opened up a gap there so that they can charge the steam tank, and they're going to spend the rest of the game fighting with the steam tank. So there they are. They're in there, 4 of them, and I raised some more back up. The Terrorgeist has one crack at screaming at the steam tank, but you need those leadership debuffing spells to help you out, I think. I'm not a great tactician using the screams. I've only got one, but I can see it would be pretty powerful if you loaded up on it. So the Blood Knights struggling to wound the steam tank, but they will eventually get through the steam tank, and his Griffin Banner unit has been whittled down. So the ghouls are going to go in there, or he's going to charge the ghouls. He's not going to kill them, and the ghouls are going to start assassinating his characters in there. I think his Griffin guy in the middle of the Griffin standard unit, on the guy on the Hippogriff, whatever it is, he took 2 wounds from the miscast, so he's only got 1 wound left. So the ghouls are going to go in there and finish him off. Count VonKeith up the top there, you can see, has issued a challenge to the Hippogriff Knights up there. So, and they're going to decline to do that charge. And so that's pretty much, there's my to wound rolls. I rolled 4 6s. So I made him make a few saves with the steam tank. And there's my ghouls fighting so they've killed the hero that was in there. And so without all their ranks and numbers, which they did it to themselves, which it's been a disaster for the Empire army. The double miscast in this turn dashed any hope he sort of had, and the Hellblaster misfiring and then getting charged by dogs didn't help his cause. And then I'm just going to send the Terrorgeist over the top. So there, Terrorgeist goes over and kills the cannon, and VonKeith's cleaning up the Hippogriff Knights, whatever they are, Griff Knights, I can't remember. Anyway, you Empire players will know. And that's pretty much the end of the battle. It's turned 4 and 5. I ran out of footage about here somewhere, so this is towards the end of the game. After his double miscast, it was sort of a disaster. So the ghouls are going to clean up there. Count VonKeith's going to clean up there. And the Blood Knights are going to clean up the steam tank. And the Terrorgeist, who I kept sort of safe and back, I probably should do more aggressive with him. He finished off the cannon. So it ended up being a victory to the undead. So my first victory with the undead, but I think it's mainly because I didn't take little blocks of 20 skeletons and zombies like I started out with. Having the bunker to keep Heinrich Kemmler safe. And the Blood Knights holding the charge from the General and the White Wolf Knights. Anyway, so that's the end of the battle. Stay tuned for round 2 where I'm facing Dark Elves. But a victory to the undead, a disaster for the Empire.
This show is awful. Terrible. Disgusting.
See you next week.
Of course.